This is Grey Merchant of Magic, and I really want an Old West plane. I want it so much that I've pushed myself fully into live action. I want it so much that I've dressed up, kind of, to the best of my ability. I don't even know specifically why I want it so much. I just want it.
Was designed ironically, but I would die for it.
Okay, maybe I don't know exactly why I'm uniquely excited by the idea, but I do have a lot of reasons why I think it would be a cool one. There are a number of factors I think contribute to a setting or genre being a good candidate for playing in Magic. Can all 5 colors be represented? Does it allow for a good amount of creature types? Does it have an identifiable and enjoyable visual style? Are there a lot of distinct, evocative concepts to inspire card ideas? I think a Western setting easily meets all of these criteria. In terms of the color pie, think of all the Western character archetypes. For white, we have lawkeepers and preachers. For blue, we have teachers and researchers. For red, we have outlaws and entertainers. For green, we have mountain and woodsman. For black, we have corrupt, or at least more individualistic versions of many of these roles. These archetypes also demonstrate the variety of creature types this setting affords. While these roles may not immediately match up with Magic's class types, various non-traditional Western fantasy sets, like Innistrad and Ravnica, have shown that the class system is pretty flexible. Classes like Soldier, Knight, Cleric, Rogue, Bard, Scout, and Ranger all seem appropriate. And that's not even getting into species creature types. On the sentient side, there's also a lot of flexibility. People have been joking about Minotaurs for ages, because Cowboy. And I'm not opposed. I'm on the record for wanting a neutral or good-leaning Minotaur culture. Other options I've thought of are Mountain Lion Leonin, Pinto Horse Centaurs, Viashino, but there's some sort of American lizard, one of the desert ones. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not a lizardologist. In terms of real living animals, you have plenty to choose from. Some of the more exciting ones include wolves, rattlesnakes, bison, razorbacks, and all types of birds. Wizards really love making random one-off cards of small mammals, so why not a prairie dog? Also, I'm very curious what creature type a coyote would get, because the canine creature types of Magic are very segmented. Would they introduce yet another one, or would they give up and make it a dog? Finally, the Weird West umbrella gives access to lots of fantastical creature types that would feel right at home in the setting, such as ghosts, zombies, skeletons, vampires, mutants, dinosaurs, and robots. You can also use the more Western cryptids, like Territorns, Jackalopes, and Chupacabras, except make the Chupacabras vampire beasts this time. I will never give it up. Concepts from other American subcultures, like less Western cryptids, lumberjack stories, and tall tales, could likely easily fit in. I think the Old West is already so full of evocative elements that other parts of the US could save for one or more separate sets. For artistic opportunities, have you ever looked at the West? It's beautiful and incredibly geographically diverse. All these photos I took are just from the fraction of the region that I've been to. The 5 basic land types could be represented incredibly easily. They could even do Deserts Matter again if they wanted to. And outfit inspiration is also very simple. For other card concepts, some ideas I have are High Noon, this town ain't big enough for the 2 of us. Dueling, standoffs, and quick drawing, with magic maybe. Bank and train heists, the Magnificent Seven, bounty hunters, boom towns, bar fights, Pinkertons, barons, and snake oil salesmen. I also think it would be fun to speculate on which planeswalkers could be from here, or would have interesting stories if they visited. As mentioned, people are already on board with Old West Minotaurs, so why not reveal this as Ingrath's home plane? His blacksmith career would fit right in. Also, for as long as I can remember people pitching an Old West plane, Cowboy Jace has been a part of that vision. I don't know why exactly. Maybe the idea just originated at the same time as a lot of Jace discourse, so they got combined. Regardless, I'm down. He's been a pirate and now an astronaut, so why not make him a cowboy next? He can go on a tour of all the things people want to do when they're 8. Vivian appearing could also tie in to the weird wildlife and monsters of the setting. She could put her little headband gem in a cowboy hat. It's all coming together. Finally, before I move on to the next concept, I do feel a need to recognize that the Western genre has a lot of baggage and how it has often depicted people of color. If Wizards was to have a plane set there, it would be very important for them to consult and involve people from a diverse range of backgrounds in order to avoid stereotyping and other problematic content. We're also pushing forward meaningful representation. One facet of this would be to coordinate with Native American voices in order to determine if and how the set would potentially involve elements from those cultures. Next up, I think a Mad Max-style post-apocalyptic plane would be awesome. I love Mad Max. I've got the second and third movies on a double-sided DVD, which I argue is the height of humanity's technological achievement. Anyway, like before, I think a post-apocalyptic plane checks all the boxes for an exciting setting. But before I expand on that, I know you're probably already thinking, hasn't Magic already had any number of apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic settings down to having a set specifically called Apocalypse? Well, yes, but none of them have captured the specific thing that I have in mind. A fun, heavily pop culture inspired, silly costumes and 80s hair, punk apocalypse vibe. Most of Magic's apocalypses and potential apocalypses were depressing. Enjoyable, but depressing. Stories of desperation and invasion. I want one that takes place after all of that, where all the survivors have just lost their minds. A world that isn't going out with either a whisper or a bang, but a bunch of screaming and made-up words. I also think the intended post-apocalyptic vibe of Time Spiral was overshadowed by everything that was happening in perhaps Magic's weirdest block to date. Old cards, alternate universes, versions of characters in the color pie, a million new mechanics. This new plane could be a more focused version of that idea. Anyway, representing the colors. For white, you have people trying to rebuild society, with varying degrees of altruism. For blue, you have people researching the remnants of the past. For black, you have both villains and lone Mad Maxian heroes. For red, you have punks and fanatics. For green, you have people trying to keep the old traditions alive. Artificer, barbarian, berserker, pirate, ranger, rogue, and shaman are some easy class types. For species, I have two words: uplifted animals. Planet of the Apes, Commandy, Tank Girl, Kipo style uplifted animals. Give me ape tribal. I would do terrible things for ape tribal. And make kangaroos a creature type. Camels, dogs, lizards, insects, oozes, mutants, and zombies are also shoo-ins. Plus, it would be cool to see the post-apocalyptic versions of more traditional fantasy races. And a strong vehicle presence is a must. Cars of all varieties, tanks, trains, gyrocopters. For artistic opportunities, the associated aesthetic is very strong. Outfits are, again, very easy to do right, with a lot of room for creativity. Entries in the genre are also wide-ranging enough to inspire lots of different landscapes. Wasteland plains, islands and toxic seas, irradiated swamps, decaying tower mountains, mutated forests. They could even do Deserts Matter again if they wanted to. Other card concepts include the Thunderdome and Battle Royales, YA heroes, scavenging, dog food, bunkers, a possibly still fertile area, and Children of the Apocalypse. Finally, for my Planeswalker pitches. We already know that Kaya can pull off that classic post-apocalyptic mullet, which is more than 99% of the population can say. I'm sure there could be some very weird, irradiated undead for her to fight too. I also think it'd be cool to see a tech-based Planeswalker like Saheeli or Ral forced to make do in a much more run-down, used setting than they're used to. This is meant to be a Halo. I don't know how clear that is. My final pitch is a plane, or a pair of connected planes, based on a battling heaven and hell, angels and demons duking it out during the end of days. I know there are two questions this raises. One, would Wizards of the Coast be willing to reference active religious material? And two, would this overlap too much with pre-existing planes? For the first question, I have an answer that potentially sidesteps the issue. The majority of people's perceptions of heaven and hell do not actually come from actual religious sources. They come from much later works of entertainment, such as Paradise Lost and the Divine Comedy, and other relatively new sources like the Lesser Keys of Solomon and the Dictionnaire Infernal. The set could mine these for inspiration, while also utilizing more recent popular fiction, such as Good Omens, Constantine, Supernatural, and my personal favorite, Hellboy. In case you couldn't tell, I like Hellboy. Non-canonical stories, folklore, and regional mythology that is no longer observed are other good sources to avoid potential disrespect. In terms of overlap, I think there are enough new ideas to carve out a unique niche. Innistrad has angels and demons, but the Halloween monsters probably take up the most attention. Phyrexia is influenced by hell, but it has a lot of other things going for it. Sarah's realm was heaven-esque, but it was destroyed a long time ago. I think there's still an opportunity to go all in and capture this concept. Plus, if dragons can be super prominent on a bunch of planes, why not angels and demons? In addition to angels and demons, this setting would be able to bring back a bunch of mostly underused Middle Eastern supernatural creature types. Devils, imps, Djinn, Ifrit, Lamassu, maybe Azra, Archons, Leviathans, giants, and golems. You would probably need humans and human-like creatures to provide a sense of scale, but I'm not set on what that would look like yet. This would also be the perfect place to bring back the Nephilim type, with a legendary cycle of them. And to go back to angels and demons, I think this could be the time to really play with the usual tropes. Male angels and female demons for one, plus maybe a few more out there, biblically accurate angels. I think we're ready to be not afraid. Relatedly, I think this setting could provide some really cool out there visuals. Religious art can be really cool and trippy in its attempts to perceive the unperceivable, and this plane could really capture that energy. For the basic lands, you have heavenly plains, islands and frozen lakes, hellish marshes, impossible mountains, and forests of paradise. They could even do Deserts Matter again if they wanted to. Other card concepts I thought of are the Four Horsemen, the Grim Reaper, True Forms, Elohim, Ophanim, Hyzum, Bahamut, Tannin, Ziz, Behemoth, Flaming Swords, Shamir, Reem, Elud, Archangels, Archdevils, and Demon Lords/Princes, and the word Antediluvian, which I just think is cool. For Planeswalkers, my first nomination is Grist, who could be revealed to be a native of this plane. Bugs show up in religious imagery a lot, and the Song of Grist is pretty Book of Revelation. It could also be interesting to see one or more of the religious Planeswalkers, like Basri, Teo, or Calyx, put into a new religious context. I'd also like to do a bonus round of a few ideas that aren't as fully developed. Firstly, an oceanic plane. They've featured individual cards and characters from oceanic planes before, and I think there's strong potential. If jungle planes can represent non-green colors, I think a water plane can represent non-blue ones. This could also simultaneously be a Polynesian-inspired plane. When I lived in New Zealand, I had the privilege of learning about the Maori culture, and I would love for more people to be able to learn about the wider Polynesian cultures as well. With media like Moana and the efforts of people like Tamara Morrison and Taika Waititi, the general public's awareness is rising, so I think now could be the right time for it. Plus, with how much Wizards of the Coast likes Middle-earth, I'm surprised they haven't already used this as an excuse to utilize the New Zealand landscape. I also think a comic/superhero-inspired world would be fun as well. I know people like to compare Planeswalkers to superheroes, but I think there's something about the costumes and silly names that Planeswalkers don't capture. Maybe you could make the plane mostly based on the golden age of comics to avoid it feeling too modern. There's just a lot of trope space to mine there. Thank you for watching. What are your top plane ideas? Do you have any suggestions for my ideas? Let me know below. And big thanks to my patrons for helping make this channel possible. If you want to join and see videos early, that's linked below. Bye.